Have you ever wondered if one day you collapsed in the heart of the African savannah, surrounded by a pride of lions? Would they rip you apart, or stand guard over you until dawn? What would happen if the kings of the wild were the first to discover a human lying unconscious in the grasslands? The story I'm about to tell you is true, and it spread across Africa like a miracle born in the wilderness. Watch this unbelievable story and tell us, what would you choose if you were the one left behind in that moment? Daniel's steps came to an abrupt halt. On the sun-scorched red soil, something made his heart pound harder, the trace of a snare trap, still fresh. And blood. It was midday on the parched plains of the Mikado Reserve, where the sun beat down as if trying to burn every trace of life from the earth. Daniel, a seasoned ranger, was no stranger to searing heat. But today, something felt off. His radio was silent. His water bottle was nearly empty, and his eyes stung from the blinding sun and swirling dust. He crouched to examine the trap, a wire loop cleverly hidden beneath dry grass. A faint streak of blood ran along the metal. Not much, but enough to tell him one thing. A large animal had been wounded, and chances were it was a lion. Daniel tightened the straps of his backpack and pushed deeper into the thickets, eyes scanning every track on the dusty ground. Big, round paw prints, heavy. The lions were nearby, and maybe angry. But as Daniel followed the trail of blood, he had no idea that this burning desert would soon bring him to his knees, and this would mark the beginning of a fear so raw it would haunt him for the rest of his life. The wave hit him without warning, his legs buckled, everything blurred in front of his eyes. Daniel collapsed beneath an acacia tree, heart pounding like it was about to explode. He leaned against the rough bark, gasping for air. The breeze was no longer cool, just a stream of scorching air, like fire. His throat was dry and burning, mouth bitter, and his heartbeat raced in a way that felt dangerous. He glanced up at the only patch of shade under the tree, and his vision began to fade. A thought crept into his mind. I've gone too far. No resupply. No signal. No one knows I'm here. A faint buzz of insects echoed in his ears, mocking him. Daniel closed his eyes, and for the first time, the fear of death gripped him. Not a death in battle, not from a predator's fangs, but a death that was quiet, lonely, and forgotten, in the wild. I can't die here. I haven't filed my report. I haven't seen my kids again. But his body wouldn't listen. His breathing slowed. His limbs went limp. The light dimmed from his eyes. He passed out, never knowing that a pride of lions was watching him and closing in. Daniel opened his eyes. The first thing he felt was a sharp pain in his neck and back. But then he froze. There was a shadow, silent, moving around him. And then the sound of heavy breathing. Close, too close. He held his breath. His heart thundered in his chest. This wasn't a hallucination. This wasn't a dream. In the blistering afternoon light, 4 lions were circling him. A pale-maned male, 2 females, and a cub. He lay motionless beneath the acacia tree, cold sweat soaking through the back of his shirt. His throat burned dry, Not a single word could come out. Every tiny movement could be the end. Just one bite would be enough. His mind raced wildly. Had they noticed him? Were they waiting or preparing to strike? Then, his eyes locked with the lioness. She didn't snarl. She didn't back away. She just stared, deeply, and for a long time. And in that moment, Daniel felt something strangely familiar. In the depths of her gaze, a buried memory stirred. A memory of a fateful night and a creature he had once saved. That memory was one he could never forget. It happened when he had just started as a ranger. And that fateful night? I'm going to tell you about it right now, but first, take a moment, grab a snack, sip some water, because what comes next is the most unbelievable part of all. The lioness's eyes didn't carry threat, but memory. Suddenly, Daniel remembered those eyes. He had seen them before. In a moment where life and death hung by a thread, 3 years ago. Back then, Daniel was just a rookie ranger, assigned to the night shift in the eastern marshlands. A faint whimper had come through the radio. He followed it and found a lion cub, its back leg caught in a wire snare. The cub whimpered, trembling, trying to crawl away, but each tug only made the blood flow faster. Daniel had no gun, just a knife and a pair of gloves. He knew if the mother was nearby, she could attack the moment he got close to the cub. But still, he moved forward, slowly, carefully. No sudden moves, no direct eye contact. As he cut the wire from the cub's flesh, a deep growl rumbled behind him. He turned around. The lioness was there. She didn't charge. She didn't growl again. She just stood there, watching him. And now, looking into these same eyes, years later, Daniel wondered, could she remember? Could this lion truly recognize the human who once saved her child? The moment Daniel cut through the wire back then, the cub didn't run. Instead, it stepped closer, trembling, and gently rubbed its head against his knee. That moment etched itself deeper into Daniel's soul than anything else. Not because of the risk, but because of the pure, unconditional trust this wild creature gave him. A human who had touched its pain to set it free. He remembered everything: the pale yellow fur, the slightly twisted hind leg, and those big, round eyes, full of life. Once the wire was off, Daniel slowly backed away. No growl, no attack. Just one final look from the mother. Then both lions slipped into the bushes, vanishing into the early morning mist. Now back in the present, that cub was here, grown, larger, but unmistakable. The hind leg still carried a slight limp. And those same eyes, the ones that once looked at him with grateful innocence, were staring at him again. It didn't growl, it didn't bare its teeth. It stepped closer and sat beside him. Daniel didn't know if he was dreaming or witnessing the most incredible moment of his life. Before he could even process it, night fell. The chill set in, and with it came the real predators. This was the moment he knew. He wouldn't make it out alive, unless something miraculous happened. The wind howled through the brittle branches of the acacia trees. In the distance, a sound broke through, a cackling laugh, shrill, eerie, hyenas, and not just one. The sun had disappeared behind the low hills, leaving behind a sky the color of dark, bleeding red. Daniel still couldn't stand. His body was limp. His heart pounded wildly. from fear, from awe, from disbelief. The lions remained around him, silent, like golden statues bathed in twilight. Then a low shape crept from the bushes, then two, then three, a whole pack, hyenas. They had smelled the weak prey, sweat, blood, and human. Their screeches and nightmarish giggles spread through the air like a fever dream. Daniel clenched his fists. This is it. I'm going to die the worst way, torn apart. But then, a roar shattered the night. The male lion sprang to his feet, his mane standing tall. The two lionesses crouched low, ready to strike. The pride formed a circle around Daniel, a wall of fury. The hyenas froze. They hadn't expected this. They hissed, they cackled, but none dared move forward. One bold hyena slipped through the brush, shrieking, then charged. But in a flash, the lioness mother lunged, savagely, without mercy. A thunderous snarl, a swipe, a bite. The hyena tumbled back, and the rest of the pack scattered into the night. Daniel watched, eyes wide in utter disbelief. He wasn't being hunted. He was being protected. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Am I dead? Is this an illusion? Have my team come looking for me? 1,000 thoughts raced through his mind, each one adding to the whirlwind of terror and wonder. What happens next? Will his ranger team find him in time? Will he make it out alive? Stay with us and keep listening, because this journey is far from over. At dawn, the radio at McAdoo Ranger Station crackled urgently. No one's seen Daniel. Radio's dead. GPS has been offline for over 24 hours. Inside the command center, the air turned tense as a drawn bowstring. Daniel was experienced. He always checked in on time. For him to go silent, in a wilderness filled with lions and poachers, was the worst-case scenario. 3 ranger teams were mobilized immediately, tracing his last known route. Drones were launched to scan the canopy and open ground. Hour after hour passed. Dust blew across the savannah. The wind whispered through the grass, carrying a fear no one dared speak aloud. Around 7 a.m., one ranger team was moving along the edge of the bushland when they suddenly froze. In front of them, 4 lions stood in their path. No growls, no signs of aggression. They just stood, silent, like guardians carved from gold. And behind them, under the acacia tree, was Daniel. He was sitting up, eyes dazed but alive, one hand shielding the sun, the other gently waving. And then, the moment that made the entire team go still. The lions slowly parted, gracefully, silently. They made way. No one dared to speak. No one dared to breathe too loudly. They simply stood there, witnessing a moment that would never be repeated again. A man, protected by lions, and gently returned to his kind. A week later, Daniel sat by the window of the small infirmary in the reserve, gazing out over the grasslands, swaying gently in the breeze. A familiar figure appeared on the horizon, a limping silhouette. It was her. The doctors said he was lucky to be alive, exhausted, severely dehydrated, covered in scratches and sunburns. But no critical injuries, no bite marks, no claw wounds, only a single lion paw print pressed into the dusty earth beside where he'd been found. When his fellow rangers asked him what happened, Daniel simply gave a faint smile and said, "I was saved by the very creatures the world calls predators." This morning, Daniel took a slow walk along the forest's edge. The sun was high, the sky crystal clear. He stopped when he saw a young lion, now fully grown, sitting on a distant mound. The wind whispered softly. Their eyes met once more. No fear, no bond, just a moment of mutual recognition. Between two souls, once connected at the edge of life and death. Daniel gave a quiet nod. The lion rose, turned away, and disappeared into the grasslands. Daniel turned away, walking slowly, and in his heart a thought echoed, one he couldn't quite put into words. In the wild, it's not strength or weapons that keep you alive, but respect. And if you offer compassion, sometimes, just sometimes, nature gives it back. Dear friends, thank you so much for spending your time with us and following this incredible story. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support our channel so we can keep bringing you more stories just like this one.